this video, we like to draw and talk. We're going to talk about art and other very important issues. But before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. How was that? Was the standard YouTube greeting, the YouTube format. You can't do without it. I need to create some sort of line. I don't know. I might actually draw a shape so that there's no need for any sort of boundaries. So that it's not like a tapestry, it's more like a little object that kind of expands from the center. And let's see if this is still within the frame. It is. Okay, so I didn't feel like starting today. It's 9 p.m., slightly past 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is the time, oh, I forgot my glove. I'll be right back. So 9 p.m. is the sort of period of time between 9 and 10 p.m. when I feel like I don't know what to do with myself. It feels like a dead zone on the dial. It's sort of like a time that doesn't belong. And 9 p.m. is when I'm like kind of restless and I don't know what to do with myself. And that's when we kind of quiet down. Our minds quiet down, or at least our bodies quiet down, and then our minds start screaming, because that's when we start to reflect on our day, on our week, on our month, on our year, on our life. And it's almost worse than waking up at 4 a.m. because at least at 4 a.m. I'm kind of half asleep. And 4 a.m. is also like kind of a strange time. There was a whole podcast, I think it was This American Life, talking about how 4 a.m., waking up at 4 a.m., you find yourself in a strange state of mind where everything seems very real and very kind of bleak. And you want to like grab the guitar and sing a sad song about the passage of time, and then you're fine, and then you go back to your shallow, mundane life until 9 p.m. hits, and then you kind of, oh, there we go again. I don't know what to do with myself. It does help to actually find something to do. Like in this case, this activity I just started is my way of coping with that strange, out of place feeling. So I set up a very kind of makeshift tripod. The tripod is made out of standing lamp, actually. I attached the phone to it. It's a LED lamp, so it's not a hot lamp. And the phone is attached to it with a rubber band. And it's pretty much the same. Very good light from this lamp. It's very uniform. And also it's sturdy. Works perfectly. I don't need a fancy tripod. So, are there any updates? Updates for the 3 people that may have watched the last video and happened to watch this one. I've been mentioning that I've been dealing with some mild health issues, which are almost more annoying than major health issues, because nobody cares. You don't go to the doctor and you get the tests, everything is fine. You feel like crap, but the tests are great. The nurse said, you have a blood pressure of a newborn. And I was like, really? I really don't feel like this. So strange symptoms ranging from like digestive issues to like anxiety and headaches and allergy-like kind of symptoms. And I think I may have figured out what caused it, but might be too early to say. And so it could be important for people who struggle with similar thing of like weird fatigue and like feeling general illness, but not showing any tests not showing any problems. And in my case, it started with heartburn, quite a bad acid reflux, which I was trying to treat with different remedies. One of them was Gaviscon, over-the-counter acid. I think it was, I'm not sure if it's acid reducer, I think so. And then there is a Pepsid or the Prilosec, this kind of, I think they're called blockers, something. And that's a little bit more hardcore, and actually there are some really scary side effects from using this. And so I stopped because I started to feel crappy. So I kept up with Gaviscon because it gave me like a temporary relief for sudden heartburn, but I also stopped using Gaviscon lately and actually feel an improvement. I've been taking it for way too long and for way too often, for years, every day. And it turns out that you should take it only for like a week until the symptoms improve, because otherwise you will keep taking it, and it causes a heartburn rebound among other strange symptoms that I've been experiencing. So right now I feel much better after a week of not taking it, and even the heartburn is gone because there's no rebound anymore. Very simple thing, sometimes can really mess up your fun. And it turns out to be so silly and mundane. You could spend half your life suffering until, someone tells you that you've been, maybe wallpaper in your room was leaching some sort of substance that you're allergic to. For 20 years of you living there, you felt like crap. And you basically wasted your life because of this little tiny stupid thing that could have been remedied long ago, but you didn't know. And the same goes for a friend made a Facebook post lately saying that I've been feeling on edge and strangely like allergic and had mood swings, couldn't sleep. It turned out that the lilies that someone gave me caused it, the flowers. And he had to throw them away, and then he felt fine. I don't know how he found out that it was the lilies, but yay. It's really silly stuff. It can kind of ruin your life. It even rhymes. Silly stuff can ruin your life. Or like, example of a person who has very poor social life, doesn't know why, until someone honest tells them, there's this thing you do. You have this nervous tick that kind of drives people away from you, and then you kind of realize, oh yeah, I really do, and then you work on it and you eliminate the nervous tick. And sometimes it's something as simple as BO, and then someone recommends you use a deodorant, and then you're like a whole new person with newfound social life. So like before you despair that things don't work, or you feel sick, or something's wrong, just try to get to the bottom of it, because it could be something really, really silly and mundane. So as almost usual, I don't know exactly what I'm drawing and what I'm going to end up with. The one exception I made was last time when I delved into a realistic spoon bending, drawing a realistic, photorealistic spoon. I don't know how it went. I thought it was fun, but it required a different focus, where I couldn't really speak as much as I can now, where I'm kind of almost fidgeting with my pencil rather than paying attention to shapes that I see in front of me and have to copy. This is different. It's flowy. It's more. It allows me to form my thoughts better and just forget that I'm drawing and then forget that I'm talking, and just kind of goes. This flow state kicks in quite fast, and then becomes this automatic drawing / talking. So I don't know, should I just transcribe it and write a really boring book? It could be, Ulysses is something that not many people can read because they're so bored with it. This could be even more boring. I think I tried to read Ulysses in high school and I was totally lost. Like, I didn't even know what, and it was translation. It was translated to Polish, and then I just kind of found out what the book was about based on reviews and notes. I didn't even sense that the book was describing just one day out of a life of an Irishman. It got lost on me. But I read it. I was soldiering through, read the whole thing, but barely understanding what the book was about. And sometimes it's sort of the kind of commitment for its own sake, where I'm like, especially with books, I start a book and then I feel weird if I don't make it all the way through to the end. I feel kind of like I'm letting the writer down. So I've read through a lot of books that were really not for me, all the way to the end. And now I'm trying to find a book and see if it's for me, and if it's not, then I just set it aside. Maybe it's not for me now. Maybe it will be for me at some point in the future when I'm mature enough to read it. Maybe it's not a good time for it now. So I'm reading kind of sporadically and with just reading fragments at a time. And I think it works better. Our brains are much more fragmented these days. Thanks to the internet. It's just really hard to focus on reading a book, especially on paper, because you have the habit of looking to the side and searching for links or what's next, or you want to make a comment, like you scroll down with the comment section. I want to comment on that book. No, there's no comment section. It's paper. You want to swipe right, swipe left, but it's paper. I don't know what else. So the March is here, spring is upon us, although it still seems pretty wintry in New England. But yeah, you can still go out, hike, and have fun. When I don't go out, I feel very strange. Like I have to make sure that I'm outside every day, doing some sort of activity. Even walking helps. Today we went on a trail. We walked maybe 2 miles, not much, but it was enough to get the brains going. Otherwise, it's just like feels kind of crappy, and the mind is sort of foggy if you don't go outside. The doodle continues, and the usual monsters wake up. The judgment monster, the monkey brain. The monkey brain says, it's boring, let's just do something else. This is going nowhere. And then there's the doom monkey, the monkey that says that this is looking like crap, and this is not going to end up with anything concrete or interesting. And then the monkey, the anti-monkey brain says, this is it, this is the thing. You're here now, and this happens in front of your eyes, and that's something that just happens. It's not you. Since you don't really have free will, this drawing just unfolds behind your back. You don't have to do anything. Just let it unfold. We'll see where it takes you, but try not to force it. So I'm going for a shape that's more defined, that's not really reaching the boundaries of the paper, but a shape of some sort of maybe fungal growth or a monster. I don't know yet. It's probably going to be easier to see what emerges when replaying it. Like, oh, I missed that. So the spoon was fun. I might repeat if I have an idea for a good realistic challenge. I might repeat that. It's kind of nice to do once in a while. As far as this kind of drawing goes, I will also switch things around. I mean, it will always be the graphite, but like in this case, I'm trying to create a shape, a blob. It's kind of freestanding. And who knows, maybe it will end up looking like something. So this week I've been dealing with some fish illness in some aquariums. In my aquarium, I had to deworm a whole aquarium full of fish that got parasites was not pretty. I will spare you details, especially if you happen to be eating right now. And then the tank downstairs in the office that I set up for our building manager caught some bacterial infection, and I lost 2 fish, and the remaining ones are now treated with antibiotic, and I hope it will help. But it really kicked my butt. So tomorrow is the last dose of the antibiotic. The fish hadn't had any meal for almost a week, 5 days. And the idea is that if the fish eat during the treatment that is designed to kill bacteria, so it kills the bad bacteria, but also it compromises the good bacteria that are very important in the aquarium, the bacteria that turns the fish waste into nitrate that is then consumed by plants. And without plants, the nitrate can also accumulate and become a little bit too intense for the fish. So with plants, theoretically you can have an aquarium where you don't have to change water or clean anything. You just make sure the plants are healthy, feed the fish. I still do occasional water change on a weekly basis, sometimes bi-weekly basis, just to make sure that even though the plants do their job, the fish have nice circulation of fresh water. Because if I don't do that, the kind of infection like just happened can harm the fish. So like maybe there was some loose end that I didn't take care of that caused it. Who knows? So I'm going to kind of really refresh the water once the antibiotic course is done. Feed them nice meal. Add some botanica, so like dry leaves and healthy like decaying plant matter can actually help with water quality and the immune system of the fish. And hopefully it will take care of it. But something always happens. It's sort of like the building manager in my office, for whom I set up this tank, manages the entire building. 200 plus people live here, and of course, at the first glance, it's a nice community, nice building. Everything works, functions, but there are issues. Once in a while, there are issues. The elevator's breaking, someone violates parking, leaks, something breaks. So it's a constant hassle. And so anything that you want to maintain requires this sort of work. You can't just sit back and watch things kind of develop. There's always something. Even within a healthy environment, healthy building, healthy aquarium, there can be issues that you have to deal with. And with time, you kind of learn, like, oh, this is bacterial infection, antibiotics. This is fungal, I have a thing just for that. And with parasites, there are some other ways to deal with that. So with time, it just sort of helps. And sometimes even medicines might not help, and it's a toss-up. And then you kind of feel like a failure, but sometimes it just happens, Fish get sick, they die. So the aquarium hobby, the thing people don't really talk about is that the people who keep fish and other aquatic creatures might have the last remaining individuals in their tank, because most of the species are either already extinct or about to be extinct. The species of fish and other creatures that you keep in your aquarium, and that's kind of also problematic because they are artificially bred in a tank most of the time, and they evolutionarily they sort of lose their way in terms of how they function in nature. It's sort of like you would compare a wolf to a inbred poodle. It's a totally different type of canine. Just everywhere people go, there's just path of destruction, and just like these wild streams where very unique species of fish would live is then turned into, like, they build a dam or something, and then they harvest the energy, they build hotels, dwellings, and then game over. No more species. Because the species have like really sometimes very specific limited area to live in. A lot of the fish, like mountain minnow from China, they can't be found in their natural world anymore because they've been eradicated by industry. So yeah, I wish I could say I can't stay mad at humans, but I really can stay mad at humans. They're maddening, and I'm one of them, and I contribute to it too. It's a cycle. There's no way you can actually live in a clean way without contributing to the mayhem. Like even with the aquarium hobby, just the energy you're using, all the equipment is made of plastic, and then it breaks and you throw it out. Even the silly like filters, reverse osmosis filter requires that the cartridges are changed and then they're being thrown away, and they're plastic. And you keep this imitation of nature in your apartment, but the waste product from it is so detrimental to the actual environments where the animals live. It's a pretty crazy conundrum that I'm struggling with. And same goes for art making. I'm like inspired by nature and drawing kind of like natural formation on a paper that's been made out of tree that was killed, and pencil too. It's a wood. Maybe it was, farmed tree, but even that requires a lot of room. In order to grow a tree farm, you have to kill the actual trees on which you will grow the fake trees. Fake trees, the monoculture. It's not really natural. One thing that I kind of almost feel like I would like to do instead of art is working with rewilding efforts. Or the most extreme example is the CEO of Patagonia who retired and became active rewilding advocate, spending all her fortune on recreating habitats in South America. And she actually managed to reawaken many of these lost habitats for animals. And that's really something that is the issue of the day, because politics come and go, presidents come and go, dictators show up and then they get deactivated, to say it mildly. But nature is the only thing we have left, and it being constantly in decline, and eventually it will bite us in the back, in the ass. It's like in Game of Thrones, where the whole plot of the books or the show was all about these like little intrigues and coups, coup d'etats, and little inner fighting and politics. And then there was this threat, silent threat coming, very natural kind of, I mean, in this case, almost supernatural, from the north, the winter and all these northern zombie monsters that would just put a stop to anything. So people kind of quarrel and fight amongst each other for power, and then like comes some kind of destructive element comes through, and they're toast. That's where we are. Petty power struggles won't save us. So we're making some kind of meteorite here. So far, no distinguishable shapes that I can see, because I'm not really focusing on reality or geared towards making sure that something emerges from it, since it feels more like a doodle, fidgeting. Be quiet today because it's Sunday night. There are no trains, and I have good windows in this room. I don't know what else to report on. I'm just sort of, once I start this, my mind kind of quiets down, winds down, and it's a good thing. That's what the purpose of meditation is. If there was a lot on my mind, then it wouldn't work. It's a paradox, because I do want to, like, I'm kind of really almost serious about making sure that I say something interesting, or something that people didn't know about, or maybe something from my own experience, my past. But I'm like, my mind is blank. So it's working, but then it doesn't, in terms of creating content for YouTube, where, you know, at this point I should already have like hundreds of viewers and supporters, followers, but it's not part of the plan, and it's not really programmed to function as such, which is to very large extent liberating. I don't have to say things like, you know, before we start, make sure to subscribe and like, smash that like button. And that's something like I really now cherish ironically, the ambitions that I had when I was young to be an artist and to be recognized were very important to me, and when it failed, when it didn't work out, I finally feel like I can focus on what I really want to do. Like I don't have to cater to anybody else's taste, to anybody else's requirements. Like, I don't have to adjust my creative process to what an art fair would want me to show and showcase and sell, or a gallerist or curator. And it's just like, it feels like a lot of space. It's like a lot of air to breathe. You don't feel someone's breath on your neck. You should try that sometimes. It's really healthy. I mean, fail at art, but maybe find some way to be able to survive. And it's very tricky, I know. And then just kind of roll with it, or not. That's another option. There's really no must. Artists should. That's not a thing. There are no shoulds. If you don't feel it, then you don't do it. I've been there too. Like, I haven't felt like I have anything to say or do, and then I just spend time on exploring and finding things out, researching, and that's part of the creative process too. If you can't produce, then absorb the knowledge, look at other people's artwork, get inspired, and then think about what you want to say or express. Because saying, it's a shorthand. Like, sometimes we say things like artists should have something to say, but sometimes it's really not even that. Because a lot of art is not really about saying something or expressing something even, but it's like, sometimes it's about a pure compulsion to just do things. And, I'm an artist, and I just can't help but draw rabbits all the time. And there was actually a sculptor who was his name was Flanagan, Dave Flanagan or some. I will look it up again. Whose only artwork were rabbits, sculptures of rabbits, all configurations, all numbers of rabbits, all shapes and forms. And why not? There's no why, there's no should. And a lot of artists would be criticized for the way they present themselves or express themselves, and then it just suddenly works out, and all the critics back off, and like, oh, okay, so then it seems like it did work out after all. Then it doesn't work out, then they say, oh, we were right, it didn't work out. But they're like dogs that bark at passing trains. They're just inconsequential. Right, why do I have headphones in my ears? Oh, that's much better. Right, so there is a meteorite. Let's call it meteorite. Alright, should I tell a story from my school years? Oh, when I was young, we lived our lives without internet, even without phones. because we just had landline, and if someone was late, then we had to just assume they're okay, and then start worrying and call the relatives, like, have you seen this person? And then, like, it was not pretty, but like that's how we really got by, like with very limited communication options. Nobody would call us up. We could actually disappear for a day and like be free. It's like we don't really have that anymore, and we panic when we forget our phone. Imagine like going outside for a day, go explore, go to a bookstore, go on a hike, go to a gallery, see a friend, have a really good day, but without the phone, without internet, without checking messages or news. It's a totally different mindset, and I've gone through this, even though it wasn't all that kosher, because I still compulsively watched a lot of TV. TV was quite powerful in the time of the I call it pre-internetian times. So TV was quite. I'm trying to find a big word. I forgot. Distracted. It was everywhere. And I watched too much TV. I can tell you about my transition to the United States. I came from Poland when I was 26. It's almost when I'm 52. It's going to be in 2 years. I'm going to celebrate the halfway mark of having spent my time in America for the half of my life. And I've already come here as an adult, and I was married to a Polish person. And then after we went to the States, we kind of both went our own ways. But in friendship, there was, it was all friendly goodbye and kind of gradual. We realized that we married too early, and there's a world to see, and there's schools to go to, and we went to college here in the States. She went to college first, studying music, piano. So whoever dates a musician can understand this. Living with a piano player is interesting because you constantly hear the person practicing pretty much almost all day, hours upon hours. And if you're home, you have something to do, you just tune out, and it becomes part of your reality, and you don't even hear it anymore most of the time. It's like, piano practice, fine, no problem. When you kind of learn about the music, and you can tell Brahms from Bach, and it's like, that's Brahms. That's Mozart, is it? Schubert? It's kind of nice to kind of learn by osmosis almost, just by spending life with a person who's into something different than you are. And so our first place in the States was Amherst, Massachusetts, where UMass University is. And she went there to a music school, college, graduate school. Because we both already had master's degree that we we got in Poland. I was a master artist and she was a master musician. But a friend convinced us that going to the States is exciting and gain some new knowledge, and there's a lot of adventure and it's cool, and we went, and then we kind of regretted it for some time, and it was kind of an ordeal. So I remember coming here, the first impression I had of the United States, we took a Peter Pan bus from Boston to Amherst, and it had these stopovers. Like, I didn't understand why can't the bus take us directly to the place. It was very far. I was expecting it to be closer to Boston somehow, and I was disappointed. And it took us to this campus. Basically, it was like a student campus, tiny town, Amherst, very very nice, cute town. But mostly it's about campus, about university. So there was really not much to do for me there. But coming back to the day we came, so we took the bus. We were jet lagged, obviously, and I remember on a little TV monitor on the bus, they played tapes of I Love Lucy, and of course back then I had very poor English, and I just kind of tried to understand the jokes, but I didn't get any of the jokes. But it was kind of just a nice vibe to have this old-timey show and having the laugh track. So, oh, I'm in America. And I looked out the bus window, and I was struck with how giant the cars were. It was 2000, I think it was year 2001, beginning of, yeah, it was summer of 2001. Because what happened about a month later, 9/11. So it was August 2000, or maybe even July 2001, and we had to stay with a friend who wasn't even there yet. We had to stay in a little tiny like a dorm hut. It was like a Smurf village almost, with her roommate who was from China, and of course there was language barrier, and there were cockroaches. But the night we came, it was not only Sunday, but it was some kind of holiday too, and no buses were running in the city, in the on campus. So the distance from the main bus station in Amherst to the dorm, Smurf village, was like 3 miles or something, and we had to walk that distance with these very heavy suitcases that were not really rolling bags. We had to like carry those suitcases. I think they had some like really bad wheels on them, but mostly it was just very heavy, and we were exhausted and jet lagged, almost crying. And there was this very nice student that gave us direction and even helped us carry the bags. We finally made it and like went to bed, and it was just, I just woke up in a whole new reality. It was like this late summer in New England. Everything smelled different. The smell was sweet because we don't really have sugar maples in Poland, so everything smelled like caramelized sugar. I kind of liked it. And the sounds were different. There was a lot of the cicadas this year. It was like very loud, almost like circular saw. And I remember calling my parents. It was still on the payphone with a card, and I called my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh, how is America? And how is America?" And I said, "Everything is different here. Like, it smells sweet, and there are these insects that make these sounds that sound like you're in a wood shop." Like circular saw. My mom was like, yeah. And I think she didn't get it. Like, she's like, "My son is insane." And that was it. I spent like almost more than a week in that little Smurf village with the roommate. we didn't even know. And then there was this, like she had a TV there, and there was this American ads that I was exposed to for the first time. It was like a very long time ago, and the ads were like, you know, car ads. Or I remember one ad that stuck with me, which was some kind of cleaning agent for upholstery, and of course the infomercial made it look like it's a magic, like a magic marker almost, that can cover all the stains. You can kind of fix your leather upholstery with a marker. And I remember the phrase, "Just apply and let dry." That kind of stuck with me because I was still learning English, and that sentence kind of, oh, I understand that. I know what they say. Just apply and let dry. And then, of course, my spouse then was busy with... What happened there? Oh, the lamp just turned off by itself. Ghosts. She was busy with the studies, and I was spending most of my time by myself in the dorm. When we moved to the proper room, finally, the apartment, it was kind of nice. We found all the furniture. We found couch. With basically, the students that moved out leave everything behind by the dumpster, and you can just kind of grab it. And even TV, we could just grab a TV. And I thought, ooh, America is a really wealthy country. You can furnish your entire apartment with found furniture for free. So TV, we got TV, the one TV set on which I watched the Twin Towers fall for the first time one morning. And I was spending my entire time, and I was still very ambitious in terms of like making it in the art world, but I felt cut out of my environments. Like I kept sort of in contact with my artist friends in some way, but I kind of also like tried to send my work to the curators and Polish tastemakers, so to speak. And then I managed to kind of create some kind of stir with my artworks, with my conceptual art, and then got some shows in Poland, but I had to travel to, so it was not easy. And then I painted a little too. Like I painted these really strange paintings. I don't even want to spend time explaining what they were. It was really weird, inspired by this very weird time I was in, I guess. Weird paintings. Like I made a painting of entire Smurf village being blown up. So it was just basically yellow background and these blue Smurfs that were kind of smeared all over the canvas. It was like a triptych, and they were like blown apart by some kind of disaster. And it was very strange because I painted it before 9/11. So there's a lot of kind of prophetic artworks that, in the hindsight, of course, seem like they're prophetic, but you know, there are always rumors of war. Like people who claim who say that the Bible is actually accurate because the prophecies say that there will be wars and rumors of wars. But like when in the entire timeline of this civilization there hasn't been a war or a rumor of war, it's always there. So it's a very easy sort of prophecy, like, you know, I'm going to go to the bathroom within the next 3 hours. That's amazing. He actually went to the bathroom within the next 3 hours. Who knew? And So it was kind of a very weird, lonely time. Like I remember learning the American language. I mean, it was basically, I mean, I already had English basics, but it was sort of the English that my gym teacher was teaching us in high school. It was kind of British English taught by a gym teacher, so not really English. And then I kind of had to learn American culture, American language, American expressions, and I learned it from watching PBS Kids mostly. I watched a lot of kids show. Every day the programming was Mr. Rogers, Between the Lions, Read the Rainbow, some less favorite shows for younger kids, like Caillou was my least favorite, and then there was Arthur and Zabumafu was pretty funny. Me and you and Zabumafu, come along, let's see what's new. Let's do the things that animals do. And Zoom, the 90s version of Zoom. But like they were all already archival shows. They were not really live because PBS, I don't know if they were in production at this time, in early 2000s. They were just kind of rehashing the old recordings. It's kind of sad. But I learned English, I learned expressions. And I kind of learned the sensibilities of how Americans are nurturing their kids, because it's kind of important. Like I kind of felt like I had this second childhood, abbreviated childhood, that I had to go through. I didn't go through in America. I had to kind of go through it again by watching American programming for kids to learn the language, but also to kind of go through an abbreviated childhood here. And now I'm fully grown. And also at the time I worked for a Polish publishing house to make some money, and of course it was illegal for me to work because I was the spouse of a student on a crappy visa, F1. I think it was F2. F1 was the one that students have, that they actually can work on campus. But my visa was a resident alien, the spouse of a student. And I always resented being called an alien. It's very mean. Like, why? What do you mean? I'm not an alien. I just really resented this whole kind of game of like, floor is lava. Oh, you're not supposed to work here because if you work here, you're going to get deported. Floor is lava. And so I had to work remotely, and that's at that time I had my laptop already, and was one of the first generations of MacBooks, and I was working on some illustrations for a publishing house in Poland, and I was just getting money to be transferred into the Polish bank account. But it was comparing to American prices, Polish salary was basically nothing, so it was frustrating. And I was really like frustrated with not being able to do any work. Any gainful employment was prohibited for me, and I felt like half a person. That's basically, as far as the immigration experiences go, my immigrant experience was really mild. I was really lucky. I came here legally. Many people would be glad to not have to work, but it was just driving me nuts. It was very limiting, very humiliating too. like because of some kind of status in my papers, suddenly I'm a half a person, not a person anymore. I can't really pursue my profession. I mean, I could, but without pay. That's crap. It's not fair. And so the whole immigration process took me years. Then I had a green card when I was a spouse of an American citizen later on. Because, when you stay long enough, you find a person that is your partner, soulmate. And language barriers, mentality barriers disappear, or can be accommodated. Then you stay. It's kind of really a tricky experience to be an immigrant, because you're not long enough here to commit, but you're long enough to not want to go back. And it's kind of in this kind of stasis, a state of suspension for a long time. And I still sometimes feel like I'm still waiting for things to kind of kick in, develop here, but like it doesn't, because it's been 25 years plus. I can't even fathom that, because it feels like it's only been a few years. I'm still learning the curves. So I don't know where this takes me. Let's see. All right. It looks like I think it looks like stuffed cabbage. Polish delicacy, one of my favorites. I don't want to say what else it looks like, but hopefully I don't have to. Things look like certain things that is sort of unintended sometimes, and sometimes it's funny. And very often I would have this very serious intentions when it comes to art, and then I would create that artwork, and then I would realize that there's something weird about it. It's very off. Like it looks like it's sardonic almost. Like I was serious, but now people are going to laugh at my work. It's very hard to do, to pull off the right amount of serious. But then, like, if you are willing to be humorous, sometimes it's also hard to make something funny. So like, I think I might kind of seek that closure in setting up the shape of that thing. But I want it to have more interesting shape. I don't want it to be like a rotten potato. Why do I have expectations for it? Maybe I don't need to have expectations. Just, the way I started here, I didn't really think about what it's going to end up being. It's just a process. I keep forgetting that. I don't know why that light turned off. It's very weird. It was like that time I was staring at the spoon. For that story, go to the previous video. I was staring at the spoon, trying to bend it with my mind, for an art project, of course. deep down, I believe that maybe I could. Who knows? Sometimes you have to be open for possibilities, and believe that maybe if you concentrate hard enough, you'll be able to bend matter with your mind. Telekinesis. I have a little nosebleed. And then the light bulb just exploded from all that concentrated mental energy. And today the lamp just went off on its own. And another thing I remember about being in Amherst and learning English is watching movies. There was a DVD rental place nearby, right next to a liquor store. So I would get a 6-pack of Heineken, get like 3 movies, and I would watch all sorts of movies. I don't even remember what. I remember watching the new Planet of the Apes back then. It was new back then. I remember watching Led Zeppelin documentary. I kind of realized that it was sort of later an inspiration for Spinal Tap movie. I don't remember watching anything else, but I remember like this kind of weird, like lonely experience of watching a movie, or even like binging few movies at a night and like drinking Heineken and feeling that little slight, not drunkenness, but like kind of like this beer induced coma. And like at first it's exciting, and then it kind of slides into like depression, because alcohol can lift you up at first and then it tears you down. You feel down and off. So if you're off alcohol, congratulations. But if it doesn't bother you, if it doesn't cause this mental weirdness, then yay, good for you. You can enjoy it with moderation. It's very hard to pull off. So right now I'm totally off any substances. No beer, no cigarettes. I've never smoked. And yet I'm struggling with minor health issues. It almost feels like I'm being cheated. All these healthy lifestyle choices led to me feeling like crap anyway. So what's the point? At least I could have enjoyed my life prior to that. But I think I'm better. Who goes there? I was still I'm drawing now without talking, which is fine too. I'm reminiscing about my experience in the United States, starting out with Amherst, Massachusetts, spending a year there before going to Boston. And so within that year in Amherst, I applied to an art school because I was tired of this inaction and not being able to work. So I wanted opportunities, and I wanted to find a world, a network of like-minded people. An art school seemed like a good place to do that. So I went to Boston Art School. I had to pay a hellish amount of money for tuition, but that's why I was working as an illustrator, and I partially was able to cover tuition, and the other part was student loan, yay, which I was repaying until my 40s. I repaid my student loan maybe 3 years ago. I'm 15 now, so like 26 years old was when I took the loan. And then like the question is, did it work out? I mean, obviously it did, because I moved on with my life. Me and my former spouse split up, and then she stayed in the States for a while, then she kind of went back to Europe, and met an Italian chef, and now they run a restaurant in Poland. That's one of the best Italian restaurants. And I'm stuck here in the States. I met my current spouse in school, in the school that I applied to. First, I fell in love with her artwork. Before even knowing who made the artwork, I was just touring the art studios that we were given at school. And some of the first year students that already have been through 1 year of school had their artwork in the studios, and I saw her artworks first, and I was like, wow, that's one of the most interesting artworks that I've seen in these studios. Very subversive, very witty and funny, and then it turned out that it was my future spouse. It's kind of funny to like meet someone through their artwork first. And so I started a art school in Boston, and it was obviously everything you do is not what you expect, and of course there was disappointment. I mean, one of the disappointment was that I really didn't need any more art schools. I was just done, because I already got my master's degree from Poland. I already went through thesis show. I got my title. I was ready to start my career. I was already having shows in Polish institutions. And the year before I went to the States. And now I'm like, okay, I'm back to square one, and I have to put a uniform that's too small for me again, a school uniform that I thought I would just put in the closet and never use it again. But no, I had to, because of the visa status, because I had to work, because I wanted some sort of semblance of community, because I was just going nuts, drinking 6 packs of Heinekens and watching movies all night. It was not healthy. And that's what happens to immigrants here. They're like, they feel, they eventually the kind of status that is given to them gets to them, and they feel like half a person, and then they become what they are being labeled as, aliens without purpose. And I really understand why people resort to just working illegally, pursuing their careers, because it's bullshit. Dehumanizing. In the world that I envision, every human can go wherever they want and do whatever they want with their life without restrictions. Would that be too hard? As long as you're not a criminal, you don't harm anyone, why would it be illegal to pursue your professional career wherever you are? What's the threat there? I don't understand this. And then that actually really creates more risk for crime. That's the thing. It's like if you restrict people's ability to work, you create frustrated people who just resort to all sorts of not just illegally working, but or overstaying their visas, but sometimes even criming, petty theft and stuff, even though immigrants statistically are less likely to commit crimes for obvious reasons. I don't know, the way the world is set up doesn't sit with me. All the silly rules, floor is lava. It's like, if you are... Dishes are done. If you are from another country, then this is not something you should do. You can work, but then you have to fill out this form, and so I hate these rules. I was always annoyed with people who are really into rules, like almost like gamifying everything. And a good example for that is certain restaurants where you enter the restaurant, you line up. There's a line, and then they make you grab some kind of number, and you go with this number, and then you show it to a person that then takes your food, but then there's another counter where you have to approach with another number, and it's like this, and then you're so hungry and you want to eat, and they make you go through all these hoops, and I just, whenever I'm in this kind of restaurant, I just leave. Too many rules. Just give me my food. I'm not jumping your hoops. So I think this cosmic potato will be ready in a few minutes. And I'm also kind of under some pressure to finish it because it's getting late. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up soon. I think it's going to be that. It's not going to be anything beyond what it is, which is a rotten potato. What else would you expect from an Eastern European person to draw? Okay, kind of more courageous textures here. With time it's kind of cool because you can learn to apply this texture, and it's almost like magic. Like, oh, that looks like velvet. Oh, that looks like wood. Looks like a potato meteorite. So yeah, blobby shape without plan, that's what you end up with. And so in the school, my first day in school was like kind of choosing your advisor and then choosing your classes, and they would put you in, like, you would go into this giant room. It was like an auditorium, and there were tables, and you have to go to a assigned advisor, and then the advisor tells you, like, based on your work, what sort of classes you should pursue, like where you can go with your art. So I was paired with a lady that was kind of full of herself, and I was like very impatient with me too, because I barely spoke English. She was kind of short with me, and like, oh, so you're making these miniature things, you're making small objects. In that case, you should sign up to this sculpture studio run by the artist who makes little miniature houses. Okay. There's no question about like what's the story behind these miniature objects I'm making? Why am I making them? Oh, it's miniature objects, so you should go where miniature objects are. That was my first clash with this, like, being pigeonholed into someone else's idea of what I should be doing. And a lot, like the entire art school in Boston was like struggling with this, like, oh, you should do this, oh, have you seen this artist, you should do more art like this artist. And I was like, how to succeed, what should you do to succeed? If you're a painter, you will come out as a sculptor, because if you don't change your mode, you'll be stuck. But I was already multidisciplinary. I liked working with mixed media. I did a lot of videos and installations and objects, and of course everything was funny, and everybody was like really into my art. Like the teachers really liked my art, and they're praising it a lot, like, oh, that's so much humor, and it's like Saturday Night Live, you know, meets Salvador Dali and surrealism. But like nothing came of it. It's like a blur now. Big, giant, rotten potato. And with that, we can finish this session. There was a lot of complaining this time, but it had to come out. And like when you try to talk about these past problems, and like when you felt disgruntled, and then you try to explain it, you come out short. You just can't really express how it really felt. It's like, oh, really no big deal. Kind of feels like there's really not much to complain about once you try to put in words what you've been through. So like, I don't know. Was it a good idea to go to art school? Yes and no. Without it, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't meet the person that I'm spending my life with, and I would not be here with you right now. I wouldn't be making this potato drawing. So I guess everything has an outcome, and there's no choice but to take it. If I didn't do this, then something else would happen, and I would still be saying things like, oh, if I stayed, I would be doing this. And because I didn't stay in art school, I went back to Poland, then look where I am and how nice things are, how happy I am. But maybe I would be miserable. In general, I've been pretty content with my life so far. As long as there are things that you can find to enjoy, the external circumstances can't touch you. And that's where I'm going to end it. Thank you for staying.